Get ready for breaking tennis news. Novak Djokovic and Jannik Sinner have thrown their support behind Aryna Sabalenka's suggestion that players could boycott Grand Slams if they don't receive a bigger share of tournament revenues. They expressed deep disappointment over the prize pot at the 2026 French Open, claiming the underlying figures tell a very different story about player compensation.
Tired of dropping your phone or struggling to hold it with one hand? The PopSocket's Pop Grip gives you a secure grip, works as a phone stand, and even lets you swap the top for a fresh new look. Simple, useful, and perfect for everyday phone use. Click the link in the comments to grab yours on Amazon.
Next up, we dive into the intense negotiations surrounding the prize money structure. Jannik Sinner is demanding that Wimbledon and the U.S. Open respond to player demands for better revenue sharing, stating clearly that it's about respect, not just money, and he is urging action before the next major tournaments. We continue the story of player activism. Jannik Sinner adds his voice to the French Open prize money protests, reinforcing the idea that players are getting too little, and he is eagerly awaiting a response from Wimbledon and the U.S. Open regarding the structure of major tournament revenue. Finally, we look at the on-court action. Novak Djokovic is preparing for the Italian Open in Rome, despite a minor setback, working hard with Tomas Martin Etcheverry and Ignacio Buse as he hits the clay court swing for the first time in a year, setting his sights on Roland Garros. World number 1 Jannik Sinner is spearheading a growing player movement, advocating for increased revenue sharing and better respect within Grand Slam tournaments, following a joint statement from himself and Aryna Sabalenka, expressing deep disappointment over current prize money structures. The players argue that their share of tournament revenues is disproportionately low compared to other ATP and WTA events, claiming a lack of respect for their contributions to the sport's financial success. This push comes after Roland Garros announced a modest 10% increase in the total prize pot to £53.39 million, with singles champions set to receive £2.42 million. However, players contend that the underlying financial figures reveal a smaller share of total revenue compared to other tour. Sinner stated on Thursday at the Italian Open in Rome, "It's more about respect, because I think we give much more than what we are getting back." He emphasized that the issue extends beyond top players, affecting all athletes. Sinner indicated that while he cannot commit to a boycott, he believes action is necessary and urged Wimbledon and the U.S. Open to respond to their demands. The collective campaign seeks several key changes from the 4 Grand Slams, including a higher ratio of prize money to revenue, increased contributions to player pension, healthcare and maternity funds, and greater player input on major tournament decisions affecting schedules and tournament length. A significant group of players, including Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, Iga Swiatek, and others, have put their names forward for this reform effort. Sinner noted that the players' share of Roland Garros revenue has reportedly declined from 15.5% in 2024 to a projected 14.9% in 2026. Djokovic, while not directly involved in the current protest, offered strong support, acknowledging the leadership shown by players like Sabalenka and stressing the need for the players to leverage their power to address conflicts of interest within the sport. He highlighted that tennis, as a global business, requires collaboration across governing bodies, including the 4 Grand Slams, ATP, WTA, and the International Tennis Federation. In contrast to the Grand Slams, men's players on tour like the ATP have access to higher revenue shares, with some men receiving approximately 30% of revenue share at events like the Italian Open. The players are calling for a raise in their share, not an unattainable 50%. The players have previously engaged with the Grand Slams, noting that while some tournaments have implemented increases, they feel progress has been too slow. Sinner expressed urgency, stating, "I truly believe that within 48 hours, you will have not only a response, but you also have a meeting." Novak Djokovic has returned to the ATP Rome tournament, marking his comeback after missing the previous edition. The Serbian 6-time champion is focused on building momentum ahead of the upcoming Roland Garros, which is scheduled to begin in less than 3 weeks. While Djokovic is determined to compete and perform well, he has tempered his expectations for the Rome event. Speaking after a match, Djokovic stated, "I want to do well here, even though I arrive with lower expectations." He explained that while he had hoped to return to the circuit sooner, an injury necessitated a longer recovery period, during which he progressively improved his physical condition for the tournament. Djokovic's primary objective remains Roland Garros, where he aims to play at his best. Despite this focus, he emphasized the importance of performing strongly in Rome. Top tennis players are escalating their demands for a larger share of tournament revenues, targeting the French Open and seeking responses from Wimbledon and the US Open. Jannik voiced the growing dissatisfaction, stating that players feel they are receiving significantly less than they deserve. Sinner emphasized that the issue is about respect, asserting that the current distribution is inadequate for all players. The core of the protest centers on the French Open, where players claim their share of tournament revenues has been reduced to an alleged 15%, contrasting sharply with the 22% share seen at other ATP and WTA events like the Italian Open. Players argue this represents a decline, projecting their share of Roland Garros revenue to drop from 15.5% in 2024 to 14.9% by 2026. Sinner urged a swift action from the governing bodies, demanding a response and a meeting within 48 hours. He noted that while he cannot predict the future, he believes a change must begin. Aryna Sabalenka has previously suggested that players should consider a boycott. These demands follow previous efforts by the players to seek greater prize money and decision-making power from the 4 Grand Slams. In contrast, Wimbledon has demonstrated responsiveness, increasing its 2025 total pot by 7%, the US Open by 20%, and the Australian Open by 16%. While French Open organizers announced a 10% increase in overall prize money for the upcoming event, the players maintain that the underlying revenue figures tell a different story regarding their financial share. Men's players currently receive approximately 30% of revenue shares at ATP Tour events, including profit sharing and bonus pools. Novak Djokovic, who previously cut ties with the Professional Tennis Players Association, offered support for the players' efforts, stressing that tennis must be approached collaboratively as a major global business. He encouraged leaders like Sabalenka to understand the complexities of tennis politics to ensure benefits for all players. The situation highlights ongoing tensions regarding governance and economic fairness within professional tennis. Novak Djokovic is preparing for his first clay court event of the season at the Italian Open in Rome, despite a recent setback in his preparation. Having not played a competitive match since losing to Jack Draper at Indian Wells, Djokovic is in Rome looking to regain form, particularly with Carlos Alcaraz absent from the tournament due to a wrist injury. The star has been training with Tomás Martin Echeverry and Ignacio Buse to adapt to the European clay court swing for the first time in a year. During his practice sessions in Rome, Djokovic faced Arthur Fils in a match played in front of a large audience. However, the preparation session did not go as planned, as Djokovic was comfortably defeated by Fils with a score of 6-2, concluding his session. This loss is expected to be downplayed by Djokovic, who is focused on his upcoming preparations for Roland Garros. Meanwhile, the defeat is a significant achievement for Arthur Fils, who has been in sensational form since his return in February, reaching the final of the Qatar Open in February and winning his first ATP title at the Barcelona Open last month. Fils is widely regarded as a strong contender in the duopoly featuring Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, and defeating Djokovic is seen as a major feather in his cap. Djokovic, seeded third at the Italian Open, is positioned on the other side of the draw from Sinner, which could favor a lengthy run for the Italian. Djokovic will await the winner of the first-round match between Martin Fucsovics and Dino Prismic, both of whom he holds a positive head-to-head record against. Djokovic leads Fucsovics 6-0, and he won his only match against Prismic at the 2024 Australian Open, a performance that earned praise from Djokovic for the physical nature of the contest. Djokovic is also drawn in the same section of the draw as Karen Khachanov, Hugo Humbert, and Botic van de Zandschulp at the Italian Open.